It's the Fellowship of the Geek Show, a weekly podcast about comics, the comic book industry, and other geek pop culture. Music courtesy of Manny the Martyr. And now, on with the show!
Hey there, everybody. It's the Fellowship of the Geeks podcast. My name is Thomas Chick, and joining me for this episode is Mike Marlowe.
Hey, gang.
Les Webster.
Hello.
And Liz Newman.
Hello, everybody.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, someone sounds like they're on nitrous oxide or some such. I don't know, but, you know.
What am I high? I'm in my voice.
If you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be high if you don't know.
Hope everybody's doing okay. So what's going on in your corner of the galaxy?
Oh, man.
This is the part where you laugh, so okay. There you go. Right on cue.
Right, you know. Well, God dang, what have I done?
Fantastic question.
Yeah.
That's what I say every day. What have I done?
Mine's usually, why did I do that? Oh. It's been a pretty rough week. I hate to bring the show down right off the bat, but I feel like I have to say something. Sunday, I believe it was, we found out that Jason David Frank passed away. And not only that he passed away, but the way that he had passed away. I don't know. I've kind of been in a funk anyways because of the holidays, but when I found out the news and what had happened and everything else, it just kind of, it hit a little different, you know? It's always tragic when you have someone who is a hero, and I'm not using that term lightly, who is a hero to so many little kids growing up and a role model, and you know, the love that goes to that person and everything. And I'm sad that he didn't feel that, you know, that I don't know. It's just when you, I guess it's kind of like with Robin Williams. When you have a person who is so full of life and so energetic and just constantly, not necessarily with him make people laugh, but he made people feel good. He honestly, he loved his fans, you know. I think back to the con that we went and saw him at. We had missed the window ticket to get pictures or autographs or anything like that. And when we walked up there, because we're like, well, let's just go, you know, at least we can at least go see him. We don't have to stand in line. You know, they won't let you stand in line without a ticket or anything. So we went up there, and he saw us standing there, and he told me, hey, you know, do you want a picture? And brought me over there, and just the biggest hug ever. You know, like, he was honestly glad to see me there. And I mean, I am not exaggerating when I say there is a line of at least 100, 200 people in front of him. And I don't know. I feel like that when he saw us standing there, he knew kind of what we meant, what he meant to us. And I even got the chance to tell him, this kid, he was my age, but he grew up on my TV screen. My kids grew up to him, I don't know. It's just tragic. Like I said, when I know we don't like to talk about things like this, but I think it needs to be said that depression it's a nasty thing. It will take everything good that you have in your life that most people are like, well, weren't they thankful? Yes, they were. They were thankful and they loved. But when you fall into a depression, you can't see that. You can't see the good. You can't see what you should be blessed for. You can't. And then maybe you can, and it makes you feel worse because you're not. It's not that you're ungrateful, but you just can't feel. It. And I feel that not only do we need to check in on our people to make sure that they're okay. One of his friends had said that he had texted him and he didn't get back to him. And it's like, man, I should have let him know. Yes, we should let each other know every day how much we love them. Even just as friends. I love all of my friends. I love all of you guys, and if anyone ever felt that way ever, even if I've only said hi to you, if you want me to take some time to talk to you, I will do that. I will be there. I don't care what time it is. Just know you always have someone. Always, So I'm hoping when I first saw the news, I thought it was kind of rude for them to say that he had died by suicide. And the more I got to thinking about it, and I'm thinking of all these young fans that he has, I think they need to take this time to kind of shine a light on mental illness, that people suffer in silence. And when you think you know what someone's got going on in their life, you really don't. You got to learn to talk to people. So I hope they use this as that opening door, and I hope to God that they've passed out counseling and that kind of thing, because these are a lot of young kids now that are going to, even now they're grown up kids, but he's been in Power Rangers forever. Forever. He's been every color. But there's some little kids now that you're going to have to explain something really hard, and I don't know. I don't think they should shy away from that, is what I'm saying. I think they should use this and be.
Yeah, take the opportunity.
Yeah, and not only that, it opens a door to, hey, if you felt this way, the same way that someone you thought was so strong and put together, if you feel this way, you're not alone. No matter how strong he was, the depression was stronger. So you're not alone. Other people feel that way too, and it doesn't lessen the way you feel. It's just you're not alone.
Yep, and it is a really hard conversation to have.
It
but
is.
Honestly, that's what makes it important.
Well, on YouTube, it kind of sucks because they're not really talking about this, and the algorithm over there will almost, well, they do. I won't say almost. They do. They penalize you for using words, like suicide and, he killed himself, or anything that you can use to say, to even get around the subject. They block you and they demonetize you, and it makes it something really hard to talk about. Now, in certain situations, I can understand, but we can't be afraid to talk about it. You know, we're losing too many good people. We can't be afraid to talk about it. Mental illness is not in the closet like it used to be. You know,
Yeah.
we need to.
Unfortunately, it is still too much in the closet than it should be.
Exactly. If people can go on the internet and, you know, post all kinds of, you know, like nude pictures and, hey, it's my body, I'm just showing it off, then we still shouldn't be in the age where we can't say the word suicide, you know, because we might offend or trigger someone. Well, you know, it's not a word to use lightly, and
Right, and sometimes we're not using it lightly.
yeah.
Sometimes, but that doesn't mean it doesn't need to be discussed. It doesn't need to be understood. People need to understand, especially young people. They need to understand these things because, I mean, how the hell are they going to find out if we don't tell them?
Right, exactly. Or tell them it's okay to feel that way. That's one of the biggest things I always tell people. It is okay not to be okay. You know, you don't have to have all of your shit put together. It will get there. I at my age, I can honestly say I have 100% been through every bad day I thought was the worst. You know, it sucked and it was hard. And I may have made it through on my knees, but I'm here. You know, there's always a way.
Right. And honestly, it's one of those deals where I don't know. Yes, I've been through some stuff, but I don't know if I can help you with this one thing that's wrong. But damn it, I can help. I can listen. I can try.
Right.
I can be there with you for a little while.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people with depression, they're not looking to be fixed, but sometimes they're just looking to be heard, you know, without being, oh, here comes negative Nancy, you know. Well, have you ever found out maybe why Nancy's so negative, you know? So, yeah, it's total shock. Anytime I think about it, I know he knew what his fans thought of him. I know he did. The man gave 150%. You know, he knew what they meant. So, but yeah, like I said, I hope they use it and they go forward. And I know a lot of people who this is affected by. I'm sorry. I'm right there with you. I feel this one too, and it's not crazy. You know, he made us like him. You know? There's no way around it. We were gonna like him. But if you are a Power Ranger at any age, you can thank Jason David Frank for that. He was a big part of all of that. And even when he wasn't a Power Ranger, he took a side mentor role. You know, he has been in all of the Power Rangers. So, you know, this is definitely one that's people from my age to 5 know who Jason David Frank is, you know. Well, if you're raising your kids right. Yeah, like I said, I didn't mean to bring it down, but I had to mention that because, like I said, it's kind of a two-hitter. One, we lost a wonderful person, and two, the holidays coming up, and it sucks. We're here. You're not alone. So yeah. Other than that, yeah. I was about to say it's been better, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes the weeks are not great, and that's okay too.
No.
We'll get through it.
And I know I'll remember a bunch of stuff later. I know I've been reading something, but I can't remember the name of the book right now, so. I'll tell you about it
sure
next
you'll
week.
blurt it out in the middle of the show randomly, and it'll be fine.
You're like, oh
We've all
yeah.
done it.
But I have tried to start reading more. Trying to get my bedtime readjusted, and that seems to help a little.
Cool.
So,
That's always good.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just need to find another comic book store.
well, there's several out there.
Definitely several.
Well,
Yep, that's me
yeah.
in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's everything right there. No,
That's it.
not by a long shot, but right, it's all you're going to talk about now. Well, the only thing I don't have a hell of a lot this week either. I will get your hopes up a little, specifically you, Liz. I am halfway through Rings of Power.
Oh.
I am hoping to finish it by the end of the year. We will see. It's one of those things. I have to be careful because anytime I have attempted to binge watch anything, I have burned out on it long before it was over. I've made the mistake many times. I'm trying really hard not to do that with this because I want to make it to the end and I want to be looking forward to the next season whenever that happens. So we will. So I'm not ready to discuss it yet, obviously, because I'm only halfway in. But
Right.
it's moving. It's not moving fast, but it's moving. I never claimed to be fast.
It's a slow burn.
It's as slow a burn as you can get.
But without spoiling, can you kind of see what I'm saying? They needed to develop the characters a little bit more. I feel like they've thrown a lot of big stuff at these people, and it's kind of like, well, I don't give a fuck about them. You haven't told me why I need to care about them yet. You haven't showed me why, or or when it happens, how am I supposed to be happy when I've seen no growth? Or I mean, I don't know. To me, I just kind of.
At the risk,
I feel like
at the risk of starting shit that I don't want to start, because like I said, we don't need to discuss this. I would very much like to see an example of this character development thing you're talking about. Because no, I don't see what you're talking about. They are developing these characters basically by dropping them into the fire. These characters are developing on the fly as they go. I think probably my favorite character is, I think, the one you described as your least favorite character at one point. I could be wrong. I could be remembering it wrong, but
is it Gadriel?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
And you're safe.
Yeah. Well, the whole Galadriel. Well, again,
yeah.
Don't want to get into it because I'm not going to say anything useful at this point.
Right.
The only thing I will say about Galadriel is Tolkien never really developed her as a character, so
oh, really?
This is all new. Knowing anything about Galadriel is all new. The only time, she was just like in the movies, she was kind of a bit part along the way, and that's all you know. There is a mention there's a mention at one point of something that happened kind of in the Hobbit time frame, and that kind of gets used a little bit in Jackson's Hobbit trilogy, but we actually didn't really know that much about Galadriel before. So any character development there is pretty much all new.
Yeah. That's cool.
So don't blame Tolkien if you don't like Galadriel. I guess that's my point. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually have.
Like I said, I'll wait till you finish, and then we'll be able to.
I have a couple of.
What the fuck?
I have the beginnings of an idea for how we can deal with that, but yeah.
Yeah.
It is not this day.
Right. Like I said, hands down, I wish the whole thing was about Elrond and Durin. I love them too. Absolutely my favorite characters of the show. I know they changed.
There's some fun stuff there for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
So far.
Oh, yeah, but yeah. So I'll let
Cool.
you finish, and then I'll throw all my questions at you.
Yep. It'll be
'Cause
fun.
I have a few good ones that I think you might go, huh? I don't know why they didn't do that.
Oh yeah, Lord no, and I don't know everything either, so I don't know that
Right.
anybody does.
Right.
Yep.
No, I meant about this show because of what you do know about Lord of the Rings.
Well, like I said, I think a lot of it is. I think it's not as connected as you might think. But
Yeah.
we'll see. That may change at some point, and I just haven't seen it yet, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm glad you started it though. I really am.
Yep. And I am enjoying it
And-
too. So.
And I won't say that I hated it because I didn't. So I wasn't
Right.
happy about a few things.
My theory at this point is that somehow it wasn't what you expected. I don't know where your expectations came from yet, but maybe we'll pick that out of you. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. We'll get there.
We'll try.
You finished.
Yep. I'm working on it.
Right. And I don't know if it. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm zip.
Zip it.
I'm biting.
Mhm. Les, quick, before she starts going again.
Well, this past week I took in a couple of Christmas movies. Sorry. But there were some good titles on the streaming systems, and I kind of had to take advantage of it while I could. One was A Christmas Story Christmas, the sequel to the 1993, I believe, film. We had been discussing this in pre-show for a couple of weeks now, and personally I thought it was a good carry-on of the original movie. Having many of the actors back in reprisal of their roles, I thought was quite the coup. And when you see the characters, you go, they haven't changed a bit. They've gotten older, I understand that, but they haven't changed as far as their looks, which is such a pleasant thing. That way you're not trying to recall who that supposedly is. And the roles were well done. They were fleshed out, like was being described before, and because of that, it was a solid movie. Another one I watched was a Tim Allen movie, a Christmas movie where Tim Allen was not playing Santa Claus, and it was an interesting movie. It's called El Camino Christmas, and it has some names in it. It has a good plot, something that's enjoyable, and yet it is dealt like a Christmas movie. So if you get the chance, that's another good one to watch. Other than that, I really didn't do much. Thanks to Mr. Thomas, I got the information for this week's discussion, and I got to sit down for that. We'll get into that, but that was kind of fun too. And like I said, thank you, Thomas, for
Do what?
Did he say questions?
No.
Okay.
Material.
Never mind. I had that feeling again, guys.
Oh,
man.
Sorry. I thought you said questions for this week, so.
No. But that's about it for me. Just trying to gear up for the holidays.
Okay. Oh, and I think you said 1993. It was actually 1983. But yeah,
83.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I got kind of confused because I remember seeing it, but I didn't think it was. I thought it was a little bit older than that. But yeah, I love that movie. I love A Christmas Story. Such a great film, fun film. So yeah, I would like to see that. I would like to see the sequel. That'd be cool. So I'm not allowed on my end this week. Just things have been going on that I really don't want to kind of get into, but just kind of not had a whole heck of a lot of time to do some fun stuff. So hopefully next week will be a little bit better. We'll see. So. All right. Before we get into this week's discussion, which we know Les is already excited about talking about, I do want to point out that we do have a Discord that is open for anybody who's interested in joining. We post a lot of news items, stuff for discussion, fun stuff, some videos and trailers and music, that kind of stuff. We'll do some fun activities, that type of thing, on there as well. Discord is free to sign up. The app is free in all the app stores. We do have an open invitation on our homepage, www.thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. So come join us today if you like the show and want to hang out with us. Then that's usually where we're at. A good deal of the times, at least one or two of us are there all the time. So come join today.
Yeah.
All right. This week we want to take take some time to discuss a miniseries that came out from Marvel, and let me check. I had it right here. When did it come out? In '82, and this was actually Marvel's second limited series ever released, officially a limited series.
Cover dated from September to December.
Yeah.
Of '82.
And this is focusing on Wolverine. This is actually Wolverine's first solo tale. This was written by Chris Claremont with art by Frank Miller, Joe Rubinstein. I don't know who that is. Joe Rubinstein did the inks, and Glynis Wein, who's Lynn's wife, did the colors, and the great Tom Orshowski did the lettering, who was doing all the X-Men lettering back in that day, as among other Marvel tales. And like I said, this was Wolverine's first solo story, and it may be hard for some people to think about now, But at this point, not much was known about the character. He'd only been in the X-Men books, and all you got was the attitude, the anger, the berserker, the rage, the animalistic side of the character. And smartass. He was a smartass as well. So this actually is, but for the most part, nobody really knew anything about him. And this was the first dab into a little bit more substance of the character. So for its 40th anniversary, I figured we'd take some time to kind of talk about this story and kind of remember back when he was a mystery. Not so much what's known about him. So let's talk a little Wolverine. Not all at once.
I have to say, I think it was an interesting take, given that, like you said, this is like the first time you get any real backstory about him. This is one hell of an interesting backstory, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine anybody saw this stuff coming. Apparently, the guy who doesn't remember his past, apparently not that long ago, was some sort of assassin, like on a governmental level, and apparently worked in Japan, enough so that he fell in love and had promised to marry someone who broke it off, and there's a lot going on here. This is an impressively surprising backstory for a character like Wolverine.
Les, your thoughts?
Let's see. The story was somewhat interesting, although since it was a 4-issue series, they spent 2 to 3 pages per issue recapping what was said before. I had a problem with that, and I'm glad that Marvel got to a point where they would issue a full page at the first of an issue and catch you up on what was going on. Otherwise, I was getting real tired of Wolverine explaining that he had adamantium claws, he had adamantium skeleton, he was a mutant because he had a healing factor. And you do this time and again, it gets a little old.
Oh, and he's the best he's the best there is at what he does.
Oh, by far, yes.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe him, just ask him.
All right, just wait till next issue. He'll tell you again.
That's it. If I recall, was this not made into a movie form also?
Some elements were used in the X-Men. I think it was X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was
where he was in Japan and all that.
I think it was.
The Miller's art is interesting, but it frickin' changed every 2 or 3 pages. All of a sudden, he had clarity in some of his face sketches. All of a sudden, it came to light. There were times I thought he was doing Jack Kirby. Sometimes I thought he was doing Howard Chaykin. Things like that just threw me off to me, when he established his own style, which was really evident in the Batman series that he did, the 2 or 3 the books of series of the Dark Knight. That's, to me, was when he made his style what he wanted to work with. It was, like I said, it was an interesting story. I'm glad I got to reread it. And it's one to look into. If you're a reader of X-Men or Wolverine or anything like that, this is a good place to pick up and see some of the backstory.
It is.
Yeah, I don't know that I would start with this one. I mean, go back to the old X-Men stuff first, but it's definitely interesting, kind of in the progression of the character.
Yeah, oh yeah, I agree. But give this a shot. Try it out.
That is interesting what you say about Miller's art in this. I liked it overall, but the way you're describing it, I agree wholeheartedly. It honestly, to me, it looked almost as if there were certain panels that he was just straight up paying a lot more attention to. It was like he had gone through and decided what the key panels throughout this book were and spent a bunch of time on those and then just kind of hurried through the rest of it. And whether they were the right whether I agree with him on which panels should have been emphasized or not, I don't know. That's semi-irrelevant, but I'm not sure I do 100% of the time. But yeah, it does make it seem kind of inconsistent.
I appreciate that because I thought I was out there alone on that thought. But to have someone else come in and say that they witnessed the same thing, that's a big point.
Well, and you'll get a Frank Miller fanboy in here arguing that, oh no, it's genius. But I mean, honestly, it's not like it was his first book ever, but he was working for Marvel, and so he did have to do things that were maybe outside his comfort zone a little bit, and I think it does show a little bit.
Okay, Liz.
Well, yeah, I'd have to say I agree with what's already been said. This isn't my favorite Wolverine story, no. Although I do appreciate this is where like they fleshed him out and kind of made him who he was. So I do appreciate the work, of course, but yeah, I kind of not my favorite story.
Not what you were expecting. Maybe.
No, and you know, I don't want to sound like a snowflake or anything, but some of the subject matter at the very beginning was kind of gritty for me, and
the animal thing.
Well, and the woman being abused and staying with the abuser and that kind of thing, kind of, you know. But yeah, it's like I said, I do appreciate the work because this did give him kind of defined who he was and who he has been. So I guess I would say that I've enjoyed the work he's done with the X team better when he's a team player, but he's never a team player.
Yeah, team player is relative in that regard, sure.
And I enjoyed things like Logan and Wolverine Dies and that kind of stuff too, where he was solo. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the whole Japanese thing, or I don't know. That sounded horrible, and I didn't mean it that way, but just yeah.
N_geek at Twitter. I want to go back to something Les you said, because I've been thinking about it. It really hadn't dawned on me about how the inconsistency of the art, and you may be on a point regarding about how he was kind of transitioning to Dark Knight Returns, which basically is his art style from then on, because that's Dark Knight Returns is like 85. This is 82. He was doing Daredevil and other books in the late 70s. So, I mean, it could be one that he's doing too many pages at the same time. It could be that. Or it could be that, he'd been doing it that a certain way for a while, and it's like, well, this is not really me. I want to find me, and maybe this is the beginning of that transition, like you said, to the Frank Miller art that we're more familiar with today. I hadn't thought about that, but the timing makes sense. Mm-hmm. It fits with the timing. I like the story. I've never really been a big Wolverine fan. It's you go back to the early days of the new X-Men, and it's kind of fun reading him because he's always needling Xavier or Cyclops, and that's always fun to kind of read. But the points where he actually just literally loses it and goes off, it was different because that's not something you read in a superhero book. At least you didn't back then. You're a superhero. You're not supposed to get so pissed off that you're ready to take someone's head off. You just don't do that. And with him, you could do that. He wasn't a loose cannon, but he had the potential to be. So for knowing all of that, and then you get this story, it's kind of nice to see a little bit more about him, because you would think, I don't know, when I think of that culture, I'm thinking a little bit more restraint, more maybe emotionless. You're in complete control. It's that kind of stuff. You just don't let anything. So this is kind of totally opposite of what we know of Logan. Yeah, see what I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I see.
So
yeah, it's the kind of just drastically different culture that you could see somebody coming to almost for seeking a sort of a Zen-like thing.
Right.
And trying to find, because the whole animalistic thing essentially wasn't working for him. He wanted more than that, and it's easy to see somebody going into a culture like that culture and trying to find their way in that, just to try something different, something that to
try to get some peace,
shake things up. Right. Absolutely. It's kind of a cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that shockingly different part of it, I think, is part of what makes the story interesting.
Yeah.
I think it might have been a little too much all at once. But that's personal preference. I mean, it is what it is. If this is what Claremont wrote, that's fine. I like the story too. I find the story interesting. I find it interesting that in that cultural shift thing, not only is it a cultural shift to, and this also may be serving to make it seem more drastic in my eyes. It's not just that that shift to the Japanese culture, but that he chose to do it in a noir style, the story itself.
Right.
That's got absolutely nothing to do with Japanese culture either. And it doesn't quite seem, it's not very Canadian either, which is kind of where he's supposed to be from in the first place.
Right.
So I don't want to call it jarring, but it's definitely a different kind of choice. I don't think it's the normal choice. I found that interesting. I actually thought he carried that part of it off pretty well in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Admittedly, it seems a little much at times. I'm trying to be polite, I think. It seems a little over the top, and it seems a little off. It's as far as channeling Raymond Chandler, I'll give him about a B- for effort on it. I don't think he makes it work every single minute of every single page, but generally speaking, I like it. I like that it's different.
Yeah. Do you like that he tried to do something? He tried to do something that wasn't seen in every other book.
Right. He's
on a newsstand.
He's trying to add layers to the character that is Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like I said, I think he may be jumping a little too far off into it for the first go round. But hell yeah, A for effort. I mean, that kind of thing is part of what makes people like Wolverine in the first place. So, I mean, this is a big formative part of that.
Yeah.
So, credit there.
I agree.
And sort of plot points. His intended told him to go away. Was she not to become the head of the clan? And she was married off to some wuss. My question is, did she know of Logan's abilities at that time? I don't recall they ever made mention of that.
I don't know whether or not she knew about like his claws or anything like that, but they did make an effort to show that she didn't realize how wild he can get. Because there was the whole thing with him
at that time in front of her.
In front of her, and she was just dumbfounded.
See, and that was one of those the moments that I thought he really channeled Chandler well. His description of that internal monologue description of that, I thought that was a good moment. But yeah, and part of that I think is that it kind of in a way didn't matter, and I think it's that big because of the cultural aspect of the story. It didn't matter who he was an outsider.
Yeah.
And that's the only excuse that was needed within that culture.
Yeah.
And part of the deal is that I've seen that in other stories about outsiders going into that culture that I've read. Not necessarily comics related, but just various other stuff.
Right.
It's a very structured culture, or it was. It used to be. It's not nearly nearly that way anymore. But it used to be a very, very structured culture, and so outsiders were very much frowned upon.
Yeah.
We knew his new partner was not totally aware of his capabilities. And I could understand that part. But, like I said, I'm not sure about his past love, whether or not she was aware of all of this. Was that why she left him or told him to go away?
Yeah, could be. Scared her.
Well, either that or the whole outsider element that Mike was just talking about. So, she loved him, but he would never really be welcome there. So maybe it's best that they break it off, and she forgets about him, he forgets about her, and move on.
Well, and that I'm not 100% sure that may or may not have coincided with her being forced to marry the other dude.
True.
Because it didn't seem like that was that recent a thing. It seemed like that had been a while. So
Yeah.
it might have been somewhere in that same time frame.
Yeah.
So she was basically duty bound to dump Logan.
Yeah. Good point.
Logan's story is one that's not unheard of. I think that's already been pressed, that there are takes, there are other versions of a lot of this prior to this and even after this. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, personally, I'm going to say that there were better versions of these depictions, not necessarily this same story, but the ideas, and I do not recall any other versions specifically that dealt with the forms of acceptance that have been shown in this one. I agree that this was very important, but to me there were other versions of Logan's past that were more interesting.
Interested.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not sure this fits. I've never felt that this fits the character all that well. I mean, I can see it as, I mean, if this was, okay, if this was done over 12 issues instead of 4, maybe you could flesh it out and get a cool story going. Or maybe not, it depends. But I'm stuck on the idea that this being the first kind of taste of Logan's background that we get, I just don't think it's the right place to start. I mean, that he did this stuff is a little weird, given what we knew about him before. It seems like a big departure for him, and I could see them building up to this on kind of almost an emotional level, but starting here just seems random to me. So yeah, I kind of agree that I'm not sure it fits all that well.
Yeah.
I recall a graphic novel about his name, In other words, who was his father? And that was one that was done after this. But it was by Howard Chaykin. And it dealt with Wolverine and Nick Fury. And to me, that was a very strong storyline. Was Nick Fury his father? And they played it like a very big possibility, very strong thing that had happened. So his past came out once again right there. If you get a chance to read that one, it's pretty good reading material itself.
Yeah, the great part about it is that at this point, I mean, we're 40 years on from this story, the Claremont Miller story. There's an awful lot of stuff. There's a whole lot of rabbit hole to go down when you're looking at Wolverine stuff.
Oh yeah.
He's been a popular character for a long damn time. So there's a lot of background material.
Yep.
And Wolverine still is, but he was the person that was carrying Marvel for quite some time. Even after this, he was the main person that would draw readers in.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Eclipsing Spider-Man even.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that was before Deadpool showed. So
Yeah. Well, and even later, I know Dead Man Logan turned into a really good series and hard to stock. I don't think they expected the numbers on that it had.
Yep. So yeah, I would say check it out. But just for historical purposes, if nothing else, just
Yeah.
see how we got here.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
All right. Any final thoughts before we take a break?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's worth checking out. It is definitely different, but it is worth checking out. It's interesting stuff.
I almost said no. Thanks, everybody.
Dang.
Liz
You
is
are-
ready to get out of here.
She is so done.
Yeah. Thank God it's not her week for news.
Mm.
And on that note, we are going to take a break and be back with Geek News for You. And we're back, and it's time for Geek News for You. In this segment, we bring a couple of news items to the table for discussion. For this week, it is Mikey and myself. And Mikey, would you like to go first?
I would love to go first,
Yay!
but I'm not gonna. No, I'm just kidding.
All right,
Okay, so
Liz goes first then.
Yep, Liz, your turn. No, because she'll bring up Jensen.
Well, Jensen.
Uh,
No, we're not talking about Jensen. Ouch.
This is officially a Jensen-free zone.
It is.
Woohoo!
At least this week. We'll see what happens next week.
Woo-hoo!
Anyway, I'm actually, Liz is going to be happy about what I'm talking about too. So, as of Friday the 18th, we'll call it, because saying last Friday is confusing because this won't drop until after this Friday. God, I'm going to make my head hurt with that. But anyway,
For the guy who doesn't like time travel.
I know, right? It's madness. So speaking of time travel, no, it's not really about time travel. Anyway, I'm going to quit screwing around now. So live on Kickstarter as of the 18th is The Last Panther Chapter 2. You may remember about a year ago we talked to writer Clint Gilbert and his buddy Lucas Cervellini, and Liz's buddy Lucas Cervellini, which was convenient, about The Last Panther Chapter 1, which was successful on Kickstarter back then. So Chapter 2 is dropped, and it is ready and raring to go. We are, as of right now, there are still 25 days. That will be something like 20 days to go when this episode drops. It has funded. So this is a thing that is happening. So this is now what you might call a safe bet. And this is the story of a kid who grows up on a native he grows up in a native tribe, and there's a lot of stuff going on. It's a very cool story. Lots of interesting historical stuff happening, and the art is really pretty nice, honestly, if you ask me. So it is something that you should check out. Go take a look. I will link. Tom will link on the website on the Geek News for You page the link. I might just go ahead and stick it in the show notes also, just to cover our bases.
Yeah. Make it easier.
Yep. So go check it out.
Sure. Last one was really good.
Glad they got their funding.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Me too.
It's cool to see that they got it so quickly too. I mean, less than a
Yeah.
week.
Definitely. All right. Little, I guess what you would say, good news, bad, or bad news, good news here. I saw a notice about this. This story is several days old, but I saw something a few days before that. But we had mentioned the Christmas Story already early in the show. It seems like we've been mentioning it a lot here recently. But if you're a fan of the movie, you more than likely aware of the house in Cleveland, which had been purchased and made up and turned into a museum, and you can actually reserve a bedroom so you can spend the night there and all that. This thing's been going on for at least 20 years. The guy who owns the property and also owns the house next to it, which was, if you recall from the movies, was the Bumpus' house. He's putting it up for sale. He's getting away from this. He says it's time to move on, and all that. So it is up for sale. The thing is, I'm trying to get the name here real quick. Yano Anya Anaya. Anaya. I can't pronounce it.
Anaya?
Anaya. Yano Anaya says that what he's wanting to do is get a bunch of the actors from the original film to pool their resources to buy the property. And Yano played the Grover Dill, the smaller bully from the original film. So he's trying to get several of the cast members from the 1983 film to possibly buy it. That way they can make sure it stays as a museum and it's not demolished and all that, which I have since learned it's been designated as a historical landmark, so nothing's going to happen to it. But it'd be really cool if they actually could get together and that way it can stay the way it is right now.
It can stay in the family, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So
I wonder why he bought the property in the first place.
I've never heard that story. I would have to go and look. I guess he was a fan of the film, and the house came up for sale, and he decided to buy it, and thought, well, obviously there's a lot of love for the film since there's a 24-hour marathon on TNT and TBS every year. So there's obviously there really wasn't any merchandising for the film until the last couple of decades. So,
Yeah, it
so
took,
there's
it took it a
obviously,
while. I seem to recall when we talked about it in that episode. It took it a while to kind of catch on.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a cult hit. Well, I don't know about hit, but a cult classic.
Right.
Definitely
Because
cool. My family likes it.
That's pretty much the definition right there.
Yeah. I don't remember if I told the story when we talked about the film, but this was back in '83. I was visiting a friend's house. We were actually, I was helping him paint miniatures and all this for D&D, and somehow I got mentioned. Either he mentioned it or his mom mentioned it about going to seeing the film again, and wanted to know if I was interested in going. I was like, I've never even heard of this movie, but yeah, sure. Let me, I called and got permission from my parents to go with them, and it was funny because his dad came home, or his dad showed up, and they said, "Well, we're going to go see A Christmas Story." He was like, "Is that the one where the kid sticks his tongue to the flagpole?" It's just, shh, don't say that.
No spoilers.
Dad.
I was like, what?
What? That was a pretty good part of the movie, though.
So we went to go see it, and I think we were like the only ones in the theater, and obviously it's been out for a bit since they had already seen it. I was like, this is I like this movie. It's very nice. I like it. It's fun. Nostalgic. And I wasn't even old enough to appreciate the nostalgia.
You couldn't even
just
spell nostalgia.
I still can't spell nostalgia.
That's not the point.
So, that would be cool if that happens. But I mean, even if it doesn't, it's not going to be torn down or anything like that because it's been designated as a historical landmark. So it's safe, no matter who owns it. But it would be really cool if they're able to get the money together to where they can, like you said, keep it in the family. So we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any special shout-outs or mentions this week?
Not me.
No.
Nothing here.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to our regular shout-outs. Want to thank Pop Goes the Culture Podcast Network for allowing us to be part of a great group of fellow podcasts. Check them out. There's a link in our show notes. We also want you to check out the fine men and women who make up Potter Family, who've been so kind as to spread the word of the fellowship by retweeting our links. The best way to do that is to just do a search, hashtag Potter Family, all one word. Just scroll through whatever catches your attention, click on that link, and download that episode. We hope you have a great time listening to them. Thank you guys as always. Want to thank Mary the Martyr for supplying the music to our podcast. In our show notes, we'll have a link where you can listen to some of their stuff. Thank you, guys. And finally, you, dear listener, thank you for downloading and listening to today's episode. We value your feedback. Any questions, comments, suggestions, complaints, or observations, what have you, please send them our way. Our email address is email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. Or you can go to the website, go to the About Us page, and there's a contact form you can fill out. If you join our Discord, we do have a channel specifically for feedback. You can post your thoughts and feelings there. Social media, we are on Facebook, the Fellowship of the Geeks. We're now on Instagram, @Fellowship Geeks, and that is also our Twitter name. Please follow us there. If you'd like to follow our Twitter accounts, Mike can be found @MikeyGeek. Liz can be found @LN_geek, and that's where you can send her complaints. Les can be found @FakeLesWebster, and no one heard that, I guess. And I can be found @TomTCGeek. And from wherever you download our episodes, if you'd be so kind as to rate and review the show, it would be greatly appreciated. Anything else before we say goodbye?
Just thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for not making me the scapegoat this time.
Now the bus is gassing up, you know.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We appreciate the support as always. And until next time, geek on, my friends.
We thank you for listening to the show. Comments, suggestions, and questions can be sent to email@thefellowshipofthegeeks.net. You can follow us on Facebook @The Fellowship of the Geeks and on Twitter @Fellowship Geeks. Until next time,